If you're just starting out your freelance journey, you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Between organizing all of the bits of information flying around, preparing for your first client, and even battling a bit of imposter syndrome, it's a lot. You know your worth as a designer or as a creative, but you might be worried that a messy system is the one thing that'll hold you back. Don't worry, I'm here to help you, learn from my mistakes, and I will teach you the exact system that I used to use in the past when I had systems starting out for free to what I use now, not only as a freelance designer, but also production manager. I've since kind of slowed down on brand design and now working for brands managing not only their payments, but their budgets for creative productions. So let's define the documents and tools that we're going to go over today. A quote, contract, invoice, bookkeeping software, and what these are, what part of the process you'd use them, as well as some options from freelancers and other paid alternatives. Hello, my name's Gloria and I'm a designer and creative working in Seoul. If you're new here, welcome to my channel and don't forget to click that subscribe button and follow me on Instagram at GloriaMadeThis. Now, let's get back to the video. What is a quote? This is an estimate that is delivered to a cost-curious client. At this point, the client is probably just window shopping and reaching out to multiple businesses to see whether or not the services are within their budget. As for what's on the quote, it's a formal or informal delivery of the scope of the project, detailed deliverables, a time frame, and a price estimate. Now, there really is no one-size-fits-all process for quoting. Some people have quote generators built into their website. My fiance, who is a photographer, will usually write out the quote right in the emails. And I honestly admire how casual this approach is. For some reason, this just really stresses me out, but it's efficient and fast. I would usually deliver one only after having scheduled a client discovery call, and it's attached at the end of my project proposal. In terms of where in the process you would deliver it, somewhere around here, after you've done the client call and figured out the scope of the project. It's not a bill, it's only an estimate, and it may change depending on the exact scope or deliverables being defined. Sometimes you can deliver quotes with an expiration date, 15 days, 30 days, 5 days because of your availability or material costs might change. I will also mention you should think about the currency that you want to operate your business in, especially if you're working internationally. The default tends to be in US, which is also what I bill my clients in. A contract. So a contract is a legally binding document that basically covers your butt as well as the client's butt in case anything goes wrong. But wait, what do I mean in terms of things that can go wrong? Well, lots of things can go wrong. For example, your client can take your design and post it without paying you. They might ask for 50 changes to one design that were not discussed in the budget. There might be a printing mistake that you made on the design that they approved that they now want you to pay for. So let's talk about some clauses that you could include to protect yourself, your work, your sanity, and your wallet, as well as some templates that you can use and make yourself. Disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, and my advice will never replace actual legal advice. Laws change and vary depending on where you live, so I would take everything with a grain of salt and run your contracts by a professional. So what are some things that you should put into your contract? The basics, the scope of the project, including deliverables. For example, one brand identity design starter package, an hour client workshop, research document up to 6 pages, brand strategy and creative direction up to 12 pages. Basically, in this section, you want to be as thorough and detailed as possible, even highlighting things like the exact dimensions of the deliverables, as well as how many rounds of revisions that you're going to have to prevent scope creep. You can also specify your hourly rate for any revisions past 2 rounds or the amount of rounds that you've inserted into your contract. Timelines, 2 weeks from start date of signing contract to delivery of payment terms, 50% of the total invoice upfront, 50% right before the final delivery of all the goods. Exclusivity clause, meaning that you are able to work with clients of a similar nature or background and you're non-exclusive as a designer to their company. Then there's what's called the indemnity clause. This is essentially a who pays who if we get sued agreement. Communication response times, if a client doesn't give you feedback for a certain amount of time, more than 14 days, for example, the project is considered on hold. If you want to ensure you can use your work for marketing purposes, late payment fees, The standard practice is around 1.5 to 2% of the total fee, compounded monthly. You can include cancellation clauses because sometimes a client will just stop messaging you halfway through, which I've seen as an issue in the freelancing community. Some people are just very passionate about ideas, myself guilty, and start lots of things, and then the spark just runs out, or they get busy, or they just secretly hate everything you worked on, but don't have the guts to tell you. So what do you do when that happens? You can have a kill fee, meaning they can owe you a percentage for the time that you've already spent on the project, or I've had it where the first 50% was enough to cover everything that we've worked on to that point. Now let's talk about copyright. A huge misconception is that getting paid equals giving up ownership. In reality, you own everything you create from the moment that you make it. To keep your work protected, you need to know these 3 terms. Work for hire, the client owns everything, you're essentially a ghost, only agree to this if they are paying you a massive premium and you've given away your rights forever. Licensing, so this is a rental agreement, you keep the ownership but you give them the permission to use the design for a specific time or purpose. It's the best way to get paid multiple times for the same effort. Then we have what's called a transfer of rights, which is the industry standard. It means that the client owns the work only after the final invoice is paid. Basically, you are holding those final files hostage and the legal rights to them as collateral until you actually get paid. It's a condition precedent, meaning that they don't own a single pixel until you've been paid in full. Do not hand over the keys until the money hits your bank, otherwise you are just giving them a free pass to walk away. A governing law clause. If you're working with clients in different states or countries, this is how you keep your home court advantage. It basically says, if we have a fight, we're playing by the rules in my backyard. Without this, you could end up having to hire a lawyer in a different country and fly halfway across the world just to chase a pavement. Adele. Payment. Should I just keep chasing payments? You want to state clearly that any disputes happen in your city under your local laws. It's your business, so you decide where the court date is. And this is only a handful of the clauses that will protect you. There is a whole world of legal fine print out there, and if you want to find out more, I highly recommend checking out the AIGA's Guide to Business and Ethics, which I'll talk about in a little more detail in a little bit here. It's basically the encyclopedia for everything that we're talking about. And keep in mind, this is a legally binding document. Don't just throw it at your client and say, sign this. Let them know that they have the chance to review it and speak up if there's a clause that they're not comfortable with. Framing it as a conversation protects both of you. It ensures that you're both on the same page from day one, and honestly, it just makes you look like a pro who respects their business as much as you respect your own. A contract shouldn't be a trap. It should be a roadmap for how you're going to work together. Also, the client signs first. You sign after. Now, you don't need to write this from scratch. You've got 2 solid routes here. We have the DIY route using the AIGA standard form of agreement. AIGA is the oldest and largest professional design organization in the world, and they've created a free modular contract that's basically the industry gold standard. You can just mix and match the clauses that you need, just like grabbing the intellectual property and the payment terms. It's free, it's customizable, but since the template, I would still recommend having a lawyer giving it a quick once over just to make sure it fits your specific business standards. You shouldn't skimp here. Protecting yourself is a cost of doing business. The pro route. If you want something more automated, you can use a tool like Bonsai. Their contracts are already vetted by lawyers. They're built specifically for creatives. It's what I use. The best part is they handle all of this stuff like digital signature signing through HelloSign or DocuSign. And just so you know, those e-signatures are legally the same as wet ink signatures on paper. It's professional and it's fast, so it means that you can get the project started right away. The invoice. So this is the document that you deliver alongside the contract after the client has accepted the quote. Your invoice can stay the same as your initial quote or be updated to reflect any last-minute changes to the scope or the timeline. And as for what's on the invoice, we have your business name, the address of your business if you're a freelancer, and a big one, do you need to put your home address? No. If you value your privacy, you can use a PO box or a virtual business address. As long as there's a way to identify the business entity, you're good. Legal info, you can check if your local government requires a business number or tax ID. For example, in the US, clients will usually ask for a W-9 form so they can report the payment to the IRS. In the UK or Canada, you might need your VAT or GST number clearly visible for it to be a legal document, and the client's business name and the address, email, and phone number, the invoice number. Do not just title your file invoice. You need a numbering system. This is how you and the client's accountant track the payment. Our system used to include putting whether it's a quote or invoice at the front and the date with a number like 01, 02, depending on the amount of invoices that we received that day. Now we just let Hello Bonsai take care of it. You should include a project overview, services, a detailed description of all of the services provided down from the date to the location, exactly what the deliverables are, leaving no room for questions, the taxes that you charge and the price. I highly recommend taking a deposit. You can handle this by sending one invoice that shows the total price but highlights the initial 50% due now, or you can send two totally separate invoices. I personally like to send a deposit invoice first. It usually acts as the green light to start working. I give my clients multiple ways to pay me to make it as easy as possible. Stripe, it's super convenient, but keep in mind they take a cut, usually around 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. I usually bake this fee into my total project price, so I'm not just losing money for being accessible. PayPal, this is standard, but watch those international fees. And we have Wise or Direct Wire, which is my favorite because it's often free and has very low flat fees, especially for international clients. Whatever you choose, make sure your payment terms are clear, whether the money is due immediately or within 14 days, etc. This is usually written as net 15 or due on receipt. Don't leave them guessing when the deadline is. You can also put the payment method, including the bank number, directly onto the invoice. In terms of finding a good invoice template, when I first started out, I designed my own on InDesign, but that's kind of inefficient when you're on the go, so I ended up using Google Docs just so I could use it on my phone. There are so many good templates for free, but for now, since we strictly use Hello Bonsai, we do all of our invoices there. Bookkeeping tools. I highly recommend using a bookkeeping tool of some sort to manage all of your invoices and payments. On these softwares, you can usually create quotes and invoices. You can issue receipts, receive payments. It's important to keep track of your invoices in one place for tax purposes in case you ever hire a bookkeeper. You have everything in one place. Let's talk about the first free option that I used to use for a really long time, which is, and no, I am not sponsored by any of these brands. I genuinely just took the time to research them and use them. Full transparency, I did apply for an affiliate code with Hello Bonsai, but it's y'all's choice whether you click that link or type Hello Bonsai into the search bar. I will not be offended. We have Wave, the free tier. I think with the free plan, you get unlimited estimates, you get quotes, invoices, bills, and bookkeeping records. You're also able to accept online payments with a 2.9% plus 60 cents per credit card transaction fee, which is a little bit higher than just using Stripe. You can also create invoices directly on your phone, manage everything in one dashboard. There are two distinct tiers. We have Wave Starter, which is free, and Wave Pro, which I think is $16 per month. I don't currently use this anymore. Some issues that I have heard of as of late is that while it's great for bookkeeping, if you intend to use it for things like payroll, garbage, and their customer service support is almost little to none. So it's really difficult to reach a real person. They have no phone number for customer support. Actually, correction. They do have live chat and email support, but it's only available to Pro Plan subscribers, which feels just a little bit icky to me. The poor get no help. And it only works if you're in Canada or the States, which is why I personally stopped using it, because while a lot of my customers are from those countries, I'm currently in Korea. So it was just very complicated and painful to use. But if you are simply using it to keep track of and issue all of your invoices, if you're just starting out, you're a freelancer, I think it gets the job done. It's very simple to use with little to no friction. Another alternative that I've heard a lot of people use is just Stripe. You can use it for payments, and you can also use it for invoicing if you'd like, just to keep it centralized and simple, but that is the vast extent of my knowledge, as I've not personally tried it. PayPal does have an invoicing option as well. I've used it a couple of times because I had to, but yeah, just mostly because whoever I was working with at the time wanted me to use it. but I would still use a bookkeeping software to keep track of that invoice, just to refrain from having a bunch of different invoices in a bunch of different platforms and having just one place that you're keeping track of everything. Hello Bonsai, on the other hand, is a little bit of a step up from Wave. While we are paying for the subscription plan, which is roughly $9 a month, it is a bit like a full business in a box. Unlike Wave, which is mostly just for money in and money out, Bonsai handles my contracts, quotes, invoices, time tracking, which I've used a handful of times to keep track of tasks to charge directly to the invoices to the client, and even automated late payment reminders. God, this sounds like an ad, which I promise you it's not. It's genuinely just what I use. Plus, if you work with international clients, Bonsai supports over 100 currencies, whereas Wave is strictly for the US and Canada. And I remember it being hard to change currency on invoices, if you could at all. Hello Bonsai also has a client-facing portal that they can use to view all of their invoices at a glance, as well as ongoing tasks. While we're currently using Notion for a client portal, this is great for ongoing clients that want to review old invoices easily. I will emphasize, however, that another benefit of using a bookkeeping tool like this is it's not only helpful for you, but on another level, it just makes you look 100 times more professional and like you know what you're doing, and we're not all just out here winging it at all times. I've been down the rabbit hole of finding bookkeeping tools and looked at so many different softwares, and if you're currently in that phase and stressed, like I certainly was, my only advice that I struggle to remember myself sometimes is just pick one, trial it out for a month, and then decide if you like it or not. You can always change your mind. That is all I have for today. If I missed anything, please feel free to leave a comment below and I will try my best to reply. This has been an interesting video series, guys. It's the 9th video, second to last one I'm producing. And if you stuck around for all of them, congratulations. And wow, you are patient, because unfortunately, life has gotten in the way a lot more than I had originally intended. I mean, it's been around 2 years since the first one was produced. And I have written all of these scripts and planned out all of these videos only at the time of releasing. And also at the time, my processes had grown. So if you're watching these recently or you're binging from the very first video, you're likely to see an evolution in the processes from the first video that covered absolutely everything in a short amount of time to the videos that have been breaking everything down. I've even considered deleting the first video. Some things I just do so differently, it makes me cringe, but it shows the journey and it's a lead magnet. You'll notice that my systems in that video were manual, and in this video we're now talking about software. Wow, paid software, that's growth. That's part of the process. And also what I want you to take away from that is that it's okay to start simple and automate later. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.